start again. So in CBME, we all are continuously hearing the small group teaching, large group teaching, all these aspects, and most of you must have attended MEP workshops and you must have heard this sessions also. So today I will be dealing mainly with small group teaching. So the learning outcomes for this session are, by the end of this session, we will have discussed some of the strengths and difficulties which are associated with small group teaching. We'll consider aims, facilitation issues and methods for small group teaching. And important aspect of group dynamics will also be studied, and selection of appropriate media in context to your teaching, as well as the important aspect is how to bring interactivity or how we can ask students to participate properly. So just tell me, all of us are doing small group teaching in some or the other way. So what kind of small group teaching takes place in your department? Can you share what type of small group teaching takes place in your department?
Practical demonstration, madam.
Practical demonstrations. Anything else? Anyone from clinical side? So these are the different methods which we are using for small group teaching, like group discussions, we have field work, practicals, role play, then bedside teaching or clinics, then demonstrations, tutorials and seminars. So these are the different methods by which, ways by which we are dealing with small group teaching. So today I will be dealing mainly with group discussion. So what are the aims? The aim of small group teaching is to develop intellectual and professional abilities among the students. That means which is not possible in large group teaching. Like, analyzing skill, giving the logical reasoning, evaluating the data, thinking critically. All these aspects we need to develop in our students. Next is to develop the communication skills with the peers, with the tutor, or in the real world, that means with the patient. So ultimately we need to develop proper communication skills among our students, because due to lack of communication or because of miscommunications, many mishaps are occurring in medical field, and to avoid that we have to develop proper communication skills. Next is to develop values, language and perspective of the discipline. Also, the small group teaching helps to foster students' personal development. That means they will gain the confidence and they can manage the own learning. Nowadays, self-directed learning is also a very important aspect in CBME. And because due to small group teaching, this self-directed learning also can be, we can ask them and they will be stimulated for self-directed learning. Next is to develop group working skills. Now, many times you must have seen that a group of doctors, they come together, they start a new venture, they start a hospital, and after 1 or 2 years, that something goes wrong and they just part away. This is because the group working skills are lacking among doctors, and this small group teaching will help them to develop group working skills. Next important aspect which is related to small group teaching is it stimulates both students as well as a tutor. When we go for a lecture, it is just a one-way dialogue most of the time. I mean, this just whatever knowledge we have, we just go give it there. Mostly, very few students will ask the question, or very few people give times for the students to ask them question. And because of that, the tutor or the teacher is not that much challenging. It is not much challenging for the teacher also. But during small group teaching, as there is one-to-one interaction, the tutor also should be well prepared so that he should be able to clear doubts of the students. And the student also feels that because there is one-to-one interaction, many questions will be thrown to him, and because of that, it is challenging for him also, and it stimulates him for study. So in your Experience, what do you think? What are the strengths of small group teaching? Already we have discussed some of them. So what are the strengths? Can anyone tell me? In MET, there should be a two-way dialogue. It is not usually one-way dialogue.
And personal attention is given to the students. That is a
Yes.
strength.
Anything else? Okay, what is the difficulty? What do you think is the difficulty in small group teaching? What are the difficulties as a teacher? What difficulties you anticipate in small group teaching?
And for small group teaching, we need many classrooms or areas where we can conduct, as we are running for 200 or 250 students now. So
Yes. Yes,
So
this
for
is a
the
very
same.
important difficulty. Yes,
we
I
require
agree.
many teachers. Material is also required for the same.
Yes, yes.
Most important, that teacher must be well prepared,
Yes.
because students can ask any question at that time. If the teacher is not well prepared, it creates an embarrassing situation to the teacher.
Yes, sir. Yes, I do agree with that. Okay. So the advantages are it is democratic and it demands activity on the learner's part, that means on the student's parts also. One can discover own strength and weakness in comparison with the fellow learner and can gain new insight. That means when they see that our peers are able to give the answer and I don't know anything about this particular subject, so they can understand and then it can stimulate them. It provides opportunity for synthesis of varied teaching learning method. That means we usually take a lecture on that subject and then we go for small group discussions. So whatever knowledge they have gained during lecture or during bedside teaching, textbook reading, clinical lab, etc. So that knowledge can be synthesized and they can gain new insights during this small group teaching. However, there are certain disadvantages also. The first is already one of our colleagues has already told that necessity of optimal student teacher ratio. So because of nowadays you have 250, we have 200, we have 250. So if we think of a small group teaching, there are it says that 8 to 10 students or maximum suppose 10 to 12 students. Now the strength of the students is increased. However, NMC has not increased that many number of teachers, and because of that, to maintain that optimal student teacher ratio in the form of human resources, in the form of the space which will be required for so many groups. So that is a problem in most of the most of the time. Second important thing is poorly prepared or inexperienced group is ineffective in meaningful interaction. Now, most of us have gone through this. Like, we go for a seminar, we keep seminars or tutorials, for example. We ask them that they should come prepared for XYZ topic. So most of the time, what will happen? The students, they don't read, they will just come like that. And a tutorial, which should be a two-way dialogue, is ultimately converted into a lecture. And because of this small group teaching ultimately becomes an ineffective tool. And the interaction is not that much effective. Next important aspect is there can be wide variation in learners' aptitude. And because of that, some of the students may feel that the teacher is going very slow, while others may feel that, he or she is taking too fast. And that can be a problematic situation. Whatever may be the disadvantages, the research says that the learning outcome from a badly conducted group discussion would still be better than from a good lecture. That means the small group teaching is always has advantage over a large group teaching. So what are our roles then? As a teacher, what you need to do? What is our role as a teacher in small group teaching? So as a teacher, we have to play many roles. We have to act as a facilitator, as an instructor, many times as a neutral chair, as a consultant or a commentator. So as a facilitator, we need to lead the discussion, questioning, we have to guide the process and task, and we have to enable the participation of all the students in that particular group. So as a facilitator, again, we have to have so many different roles. Many times you just have to act as a partner, as a planner, as an enabler, as a motivator. Again, this is very important aspect, as a taskmaster and as a guide. So how one should be guided? So we have to guide that group with clear models and process. If we ourselves are not going to give clear instructions, crisp instructions, then that group discussion will go haphazard. And ultimately, whatever you wish to achieve by the end of the discussion won't be achieved. So as a guide, there should be clear models and the processes for that particular group discussion. Next is you have to create and sustain the participatory environment. Many times what happens, someone is, when you throw a question or when there is a discussion is going on, and if some student gives answer, a teacher tend to criticize that particular answer, or they laugh at that particular student as if he's giving such a foolish answer. So what is the ultimate outcome of this is that particular student is hesitant to take part or participate next time or answer next time. And because of that, as a teacher, it is very important that you have to create as well as you have to sustain the participatory environment. Then next is many times you have to trust them. The group discussion should be going on and you can act as a neutral chair. So again, this type of discussion also can be there. So you should be a good planner also for that particular group. Then if there are more than one group, for example, many times in workshops, etc., so you have to move around the groups and we have to manage them. It should not be happening that you are just giving attention to only one group. So you have understood that as a group facilitator, a teacher has so many different roles to perform. So what are the problems then? As a leader, as a group leader, what are the problems associated with this small group teaching? So some teachers find that हमारे time पे तो ऐसे नहीं था. At that time also, so many good teachers were there, and these are the new methods coming up. So some teachers, especially some senior teachers, find that these methods are changing so fast. So it becomes at times difficult to cope up with these newer methods. Another important thing that you may behave in this fashion. That means a teacher gives lecture rather than a dialogue. So in a small group discussion, there should be participation from both sides. But if you are not allowing others' ideas to come in, and if the teacher himself is talking too much, then again that small group discussion ultimately will just become a lecture. Another aspect is we have in a particular group, we have different types of students, and some are already prejudiced that he or she will take uska lecture aise hi hoga or uska blah blah. So to adjust all these students under that particular group, to manage them can be a difficult task. So on this background, so how one can go for a successful small group teaching? So you have to be effective planner. So you should plan and prepare whatever discussion you are going to lead. It should be very, very well planned. During discussion, many times the students will try to go off track. So we have to keep them on track. We have to view in advance what can be the possible problems, and we have to find out the outcomes and solutions for them beforehand only. So there are varieties of the group discussions. Like controlled discussion means these are controlled mainly by the teacher, and free group discussions are mainly they are controlled by the students. And brainstorming, as you all know, brainstorming is you are inviting so many ideas and there is a lot of synthesis on that particular topic. So this controlled discussion is strictly controlled by the teacher and usually used at the end of the class, revision of the facts, understanding, taking the feedback. So that ultimately at the end, we can do this. And free group discussion, teacher will act as an observer and students will control the topic and the discussion. So we have to give more structure. So for a nice group discussion, we have to give more structure and you should be giving less intervention. So you should know what are the different types of the groups, because every time you cannot have the similar type of group discussion. So depending on the topic, depending on the situation, depending on the number of participants, we can have different types of group structures. So what are these group structures? So these are different types of groups, like buzz groups, we have fishbowl groups, we have crossover groups, circular questioning, horseshoe and snowball. So first is buzz group. So in buzz group, see, we can ask that on one bench, suppose there are 2 or 3 students. So we can ask them, you talk to your colleague or who is next to them, they can talk to that particular person and come back to us. So it will provide stimulating change. Now this to gain idea of what students knows and to check their own understanding. For example, you are taking lecture on suppose leukemias. So you can ask them, you just talk to your friend, what you know about leukemia, share your ideas. So then it stimulates them. So first 5 minutes or first 2 minutes, this person will talk to him and next 2 minutes, this person will talk to him. So that every one of them gets chance to speak or to share their ideas and then they will come back to tutor. Now this buzz group type of a discussion or buzz group thing can be used during large group discussion also. For example, during lecture, if you wish to break the monotony of the lecture, we can have in between, we can make these buzz groups and ask them to share their ideas. Next is crossover group. Now this, if you wish that initially you have made 3 groups and from 3 groups you wish to make 4 groups. So this is a very simple method. You just ask them 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to say 1, 2, 3, 4. All number ones will be in one group, all number twos in one group, all number threes in one group, like that. So that means whichever the initial number of groups and whatever number you wish to make from that particular initial groups, you can make it within 2 minutes. And another important thing is, many times you must have seen that, you know, the students, they wish that only he or she should be there in my group. They are not ready to take to make groups with other students. So if we do this, then it is always better that they should not stick to each other, and you can just have different groups for different type of activities. So this can be achieved by this crossover groups. Next is circular questioning. Now here, if you wish that each and every student should participate, should ask question, should give answers, then this circular questioning type of a format is very good. So here each member will ask, now this person will formulate the question and he will throw to a person who is sitting next to him, in front of him, and he will answer. So like that, you go clockwise. So this person will throw question to him like that. So each and every member gets turn by turn and to ask chance to ask question as well as chance to give answer. And this enables participation of all the students in that particular discussion. Next is horseshoe group. So in most of the workshops, we have this type of arrangement. So here we can alternate between lecture and a discussion format. That means these are small groups also, as well as here there is screen and the tutor. So this is a lecture also, session of a lecture also. So this can give feasibility to alternate between lecture and discussion formats, and this is, I told you, common practice for the workshops. Next is this fishbowl group. So this usually when I take this lecture offline, we make arrangement of the fishbowl group. That means the participants are divided into two groups. Group one, like I just ask them to say 1 2 1 2. All number ones will be in the inner circle. All number twos will be in the outer circle. Then we give them a topic, a current topic for discussion, and then the inner group will discuss. The inner group will discuss, and the outer group will listen for the theme, how they are discussing, the soundness of the argument, and then later this group will go here and this group will come here. So this is called as fishbowl group. So this gives you how to study the group dynamics also. So what is group dynamics then? So it is interaction between people who are working together. So that particular group. So in group dynamics, there are different stages, like initial stage is forming, then second is storming, then norming, performing, and then transforming. So what is forming? So initially the group will introduce themselves to each other. The thoughts will be shared, and they are very careful with each other because for the first time they are meeting. Then you have already given them the topic, so they will start discussing on that topic. So very storming, so lot of energy, opinions. Then there can be disputes regarding one XYZ topic or one point. Then norming, then comes the common goal. So they develop a common goal, they know each other's strength and weakness, and then performing with high trust and responsibilities, and then comes good communication and redefines the purpose. So these are the different aspects when there is a group working, a particular group is working together. So this is called as group dynamics. So this is a practical aspect, how to regulate a group, because ultimately all of us need to regulate a group in small group teaching. So suppose I have given topic of this role of government in managing COVID-19 pandemic. So this can be the topic. Usually we give the current topics and we divide them into, I told you, in fishbowl grouping. And so the people start discussing about it. So suppose we have given 10 minutes. So they start discussing about it. So usually, and the outer group is observing them, how they are performing. So the outer group should see that, now suppose this is the inner group. So outer group is observer. So they should see, so how many people are participating. Some people will just won't speak, some people will go on speaking. So this type of who is talking to whom. So outer group should be actually observing this, how the soundness of the argument, etc. And already we have given them 10 minutes. So many times it happens that as we are not aware how to maintain that, how to go for the group discussion. So most of the time we see that no one is maintaining the time. They are not bothered about the time. So for a proper group discussion, there should be the inner circle initially should set some ground rules for a group discussion. For example, suppose in reality, suppose there is 1 hour class for a small group discussion. So there should be setting up some ground rules by that group that no one, for example, no one will use mobiles like that. So they should have, they should set some ground rules. Second important thing is they should have a group leader. Okay, so that there should be someone who can summarize. There should be one scribe. That means whatever points are coming out of that discussion, one should pen it down. One should note it down. And next important thing is one should be a timer. That means suppose you have given them half an hour, 10 minutes or 1 hour, one person should be there who will be noting the time. Otherwise it becomes very haphazard. And the outer circle should observe the interactivity within the members and the soundness of the argument. So this is very important that we have to set some ground rules, we have to have a group leader, we have to have a scribe, and we have to have a timer, so that ultimately one should be able to present what are the outcomes of their discussion. Otherwise, it will become very haphazard discussion. So as I told you, I will be dealing mainly with group discussion. So I have given you all the aspects of group discussion. So there are other methods which we all are using in our day-to-day practice, like there are seminars, there are tutorials, there are demonstrations, practicals, bedside teaching, etc. Role play again, nowadays, previously we were not using role plays, but nowadays because of new CBME curriculum, the MET department is now actively working in all the colleges. So role plays are also picking up a lot, and we can choose topics for role plays also. And the students, if you ask them to participate, they do it very beautifully, role plays. And workshop is another method. Then for every group discussion or every small group teaching, we can have a selection of the proper AV aids. Like we have computer simulated experiments are there. We have so many, every college, there are skill labs are coming up. Very beautiful skill labs are coming up. So they can be utilized properly for this small group discussions. So these are some of the examples of the AV8s which we can use for small group discussions. For subjects like pathology, we have good specimens. We can have good clinical cases with specimen along with the histopathology photograph along with clinical history. So all these can be used for teaching purpose. So ultimately, one should be a good communicator and choose the proper AV depending on the topic, time, and the available resources. A good teacher will convert a bad slide into a good one and vice versa. And audiovisual aids offer useful support, but remember they are not substitute for your own words spoken with sincerity, passion, and clarity. So with this, I end my topic of small group discussion. So any queries or anything you wish to ask regarding this, we are free to ask. And most of us are using actually small group discussions. Only thing now we need to give some structure, which already have discussed different structures which we can do for small group teaching. So these structures or these different group types we can use for our like this group structures we can use during our group discussions.
Really, madam, very nicely explained lecture in very short span of time. But basically, we'll organize this lecture in the offline mode because there are so many things which cannot be explained in the online mode. Because
Yes.
MET is such a thing where the actually zero ground teaching is more important. So once this pandemic is over, we'll surely organize again the lecture of the Gore madam. And at that time, so many doubts will be cleared and participants will be also from the PGs and especially UG also. Thank you, madam. Thank you for giving the time.
Thank you, sir, and thank you everyone for your patient listening.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very encouraging and informative session, and it will be really helpful for the faculty of our institution. Ma'am, will you please stop sharing your screen?
Yes. Just stop sharing. Yes. So should I leave now?
No, ma'am. Please wait, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your valuable time and guidance. We are looking forward for many more sessions with you like this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. This is the appreciation certificate. We will also mail you the same. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Right.